Welcome to the Golden Age podcast, where we talk about being physically, mentally, spiritually, and financially healthy. I'm joined all the way from the Philippines by my guest Roy, and in today's episode, we will talk about how we have used our faith to guide us in making life-changing decisions. Now, I wanna welcome Roy back for the third time, all the way from the Philippines. We are currently having some difficulties with this camera, but nevertheless, the show must go on. Bro, how you been?
I've been good, and thanks for having me back in your podcast. I enjoy these conversations that we have, and I'm happy to be able to share with other people as well. So thank you for creating this forum for us to talk about and share our personal experiences, and also be able to help other people that might be on the same boat as us.
Hey man, I appreciate you being here and taking the time to be here. We're far away from each other because of your fault. You decided to leave, but at least we can still connect through here. We can
Mhm.
still keep this podcast going, and I'm excited, bro. What time is it for you right now over there?
It is 4:50 a.m. Yeah, it's the
Damn.
middle of the morning right now. Yeah, so I might look a little tired, but you know, we're surviving.
Hey, at least for all the viewers, that's a lot of dedication because tomorrow. Oh, I mean, over there it's already tomorrow, right? It's the 12th.
Yeah, it's the 12th
Yeah.
already. Yep.
So I hope you guys all appreciate Roy's dedication and effort into this. And so for today, I want to share with you guys a little bit about some decisions that we've made so far in our lives that we, really um took the time to pray about it, to think about it, to ask, God what he wanted from us, especially because our faith is important to us. And so today's episode, we're just going to share briefly a little bit about our faith journey individually and the recent career decisions that we have made so far that were guided by our faith, and talk a little bit about the signs that God gives us, how he speaks to us in the silence, and how we discern what he wants for us, and just some advice that we have for all of you that are listening, at least from our own experience that we've had. And yeah, so we'll get straight into it now. Let's see. Roy and I, we know each other from high school. Now, I'm not too sure about him, but I know in high school we did campus ministry, and for me, that wasn't necessarily the beginning of my faith journey. It kind of started before that. For me, it started when I was, I want to say, in middle school. I became an altar server at church, and that for me was kind of like what got me involved in church, had me motivated to go to church, to participate and really start um, learning more about my faith and wanted to grow in that faith. But for you, bro, what would you say was the beginning of your faith life?
Oh yeah, I mean, most definitely for me, I think there might be a lot of people on the same boat as me, but I went to Catholic elementary school, middle school, so I basically grew up in the Catholic faith, and it was obviously, majority of it was, due to my parents enabling me to be raised in such an environment. But I would have to say, like, in true honesty, like, especially when I was young, I was just going through the motions. I was an autopilot when it came to my faith. I just did it because that's how I grew up with. That's my surrounding in a school, in a daily basis in school. Faith is all surrounded. I mean, in class, we talked about faith. That was part of our curriculum. And then we also, I'd say, we had masses, and as a family too, we try to go to church on a weekly basis too. So I would have to say, like, my faith started when I was very young, but majority of it really was on autopilot. It wasn't really until I personally have to say towards the end of high school campus ministry where my personal initiative allowed me to be more closer to my faith.
Yeah, bro, and I know you said that you were kind of like on like what is it, like an auto or like a robot,
Autopilot.
um
Yeah, I
autopilot.
know
There
there's
you
a
go.
coin term. I've heard of the term before. It's
Hmm.
totally out of my head, but in a sense, like, I was an autopilot when it came to my faith, especially at a young age.
Gotcha. And for me, it was kind of interesting, bro, because when I was younger and I started my first communion, my parents got me involved in church, just like in volunteering for some what do you call it, like some plays or some skits that the church had going on.
Mm.
So that kind of was like their way to get me intrigued and involved. And sure enough, it got me intrigued, just to learn more about the story of Jesus, about how he was crucified. And when we moved over from El Cajon to Chula Vista, one that was kind of tough for me in general because I was switching schools. It was a time where like I kind of felt like I didn't have any friends or anything. And when I first moved over to the church that we go to now in Chula Vista, over Our Lady of Guadalupe, I got invited to be an altar server, and I said no. I said no. I said I wasn't interested. I'm good. But because I felt kind of lonely and didn't really have any friends. And I don't remember what it was that made me eventually want to join. I don't remember if it was my parents like kind of like forcing me or whatnot. Um, but eventually, I started going, and that's where I met a lot of my close friends that I have today. And like Francisco, George, Robert, Gabriel, all of them, I met them through church. And so for me, I was kind of, maybe in the sense I was forced because my parents were the ones that signed me up for first communion, were taking me to church, but it
I
was
wouldn't
something
say
that definitely
force.
brought.
I would say more guided you. Guiding
Yeah,
you.
there you go.
Yeah.
They guided me, and that kind of opened the door for me. Now, when we got to high school, we had campus ministry, and I don't know about you, right? You could tell us right now in a second, but for me, I decided to join because by that point, by junior year, I was very active and how to say active and just very invested in my faith. I had been going already to youth group for a while at my church, and I was part of the leaders group there, putting on skits, helping out with youth group, and even like little by little, I just started playing a little bit at church and the choir and stuff like that. So to me, that's what motivated me to join campus ministry. But what about you?
Now that you brought it up, like now looking at it, I'm actually curious why, like at that point in time, why did I want to join campus ministry? And like I think like in hindsight right now, I guess one of the biggest reason motivator for me, uh, like the answer is the faith portion of it. Obviously, I had to be some sort of I have some level of faith and interest and vested interest in my faith. But I'd say a majority of the biggest my big reason for joining campus ministry back in high school was really, and I know this is more selfish, but I think definitely be more diverse in extracurricular activities. Do more than just regular, schoolwork and do some sports. I want to do something more active in the community. And I say giving back because I do recall campus ministers are also the one that helps in the retreats for the other grades. So that was one of my biggest thing to influence her. But I really have to say, like looking back, it is definitely blurry of why is like my biggest motivator. But apart from the retreats, apart from it being an extracurricular activity that I would be doing on top of my regular school curriculum, I'd have to say that I wouldn't say like my biggest reason was my faith and to like get deeper. It was more to give back through faith.
Mm, okay, I see what you mean. And I will say this, bro. One thing that I've learned is that, God will use, different things or people, to motivate you to get closer to him, you know.
Yeah,
For you,
different
it was to
signs.
have some type of different extracurricular class, you know. For me, I think, he knows us each individually how we are, right? I could definitely say me and a few other friends at over at Our Lady of Guadalupe, he definitely used the chicas to help motivate us to go to church, I mean, he knows me. He knows that I was very passionate, right?
Uh-huh.
Very passionate about women and nah, well, I was little. How can I be passionate about women? But he knew that I was a little flirt. I like talking to
Mm.
girls, like being there socializing, and 100%. He definitely put certain people in my life to kind of at least encourage me to go more often, right, to church. Um, and so, I truly believe that he has a plan for everything, right? And sooner or later, he's going to find a way to bring us closer to him. So, you know, kind of expanding on this, what would you say, that's what motivated you when you were younger, but what would you say is kind of what motivates you now, or brings you closer right now to God, to being active in your faith now that you're an adult and
Mhm.
responsible for yourself?
Yeah, and what's great about that, especially now as an adult, we are now making the conscious decision to reach our faith. Back then, we always had like guidance from our family, from our friends, from school specifically, especially going through, for me personally, going through a Catholic school system, through elementary, middle school, high school, and then even university, even a tad bit. For me now, one of my biggest motivator, I would have to say, is community. And church, the community, the church is definitely a big aspect inside our faith. And in my personal, I'd say, uh, vested interest in my faith as well. It's the community that the church builds, the people that it attracts, but then also having the interactions and connection with people that share the same values as you. That's one of my biggest motivator that gets me, interested being attending service, and then also partaking in some of the community activities that the church is a part of.
Hey, I 100% agree. And I would say for me, at least right now, um, you know, I just think the fact that I was always very active in church, and that I just truly believe that, you know, if I put my faith in God, that everything's gonna be good. Like lately, even though I haven't been as active in church as I would have liked to, I just think me knowing and having very well grounded roots in my faith and my trust in God. For me, that's kind of been what what motivates me and what keeps me grounded right now. Right, just I had that good foundation, and I know that everything that I'm doing right now, all the hard work that I'm putting in, all of the struggles that I'm going through, I don't know, I know, and I'm confident that it's all part of God's plan for me.
So for you,
And
it's not like a extra thing. It's basically it's part of your life already. It's so engraved
yeah,
that it's second nature.
100%. There is there's nothing in this world that could make me change that, make me doubt that. And life has gotten tough. Really, things that happen that don't make sense happen. And of course, there's times where I've questioned, why God let something happen, but at no point, will it ever make me stop believing. And I just know that for a fact that if I keep God in my life, even though I'm not a perfect person, I make mistakes, I sin, but I know that if I keep Him in my life and if I keep on going to Him for guidance, I know that I'm going to be okay. And that for me gives me so much relief. You know,
Yeah, no one's perfect. And I mean, yeah, and that's one of the biggest things is what faith is. The faith is great because it's a backbone. It's a backbone for a lot of the things in life. And also it gives you the belief, the feeling that you're not alone. And that's definitely something that I really value with the faith is that, yeah, like this is something that was always like taught in schools that, God is everywhere. He's always around you. And in reality, in physical sense, maybe it doesn't make any sense, but in your faith and like internally, it definitely adds a layer of security for oneself. And especially going through life and a lot of the hardships that people go through, it's definitely is a big part that of your faith is having that mentality that God is always there helping you and He loves you.
amen, bro. Now, moving on to our next topic in this episode, and kind of the thing that inspired this episode too. When we were just talking about this before you left to the Philippines. You know, what are some career decisions that we've made that we really took our faith into, I don't know if I want to say consideration or action, or but basically using our faith and to guide the decision that we're currently making, or that we had to make in the past moment. You know, if you want to start us off, some major life career decision that you made.
Yeah, most definitely. I think one that I'm personally experiencing right now is really, a context on that mainly is, we're in our mid-20s right now. And, you know, for me, I feel like, I've hit a stage in my life where I want to do something outside of my comfort zone. And that one, specific one being specifically is really leaving where my nest is. I mean, I grew up in San Diego majority of my life, basically. I moved there when I was born, stayed there ever since, and I really felt like I have been in such good support system and roof, and I just feel like I've been too comfortable where I'm at. And especially in our age, in our mid-20s, I definitely feel like for me, I want to step out my comfort zone and touch my toes in the deep waters. I want to see what it's like, and that's really where knowing where I am in my life and what choices I'll have to do to have that feeling. I know that it's going to be something that's going to be risky. It's going to make me uncomfortable. But I know that there might be a plan from God for me, and that's really where a couple months back, so end of 2024. I had a lot of good conversations with God. And again, I had these through prayers, through songs, through science, and just with the belief in Him, having those conversations to say, really, and what I want to do, what I want to do, is that outrageous? Is it something that I should tackle, or is it something that I should just forget about and think about something else that I want to do? And yeah, through those conversations and through my interactions with my loved ones, with family and friends, I think this really gave me a better a vision. And I think that's God's signs that really guided me to make the decision where I'm at right now, being able to live in the Philippines for a little bit. We'll see how long. I bought one-way tickets. So with that, and letting go of a lot of, I'd say, strings that were holding me back. And I'd say this allows me to be more flexible, but then also ju- go in a new environment without having any fear of where I was before.
Good, bro. Yeah, I well, one, I know you'll be back eventually.
For
I'm
vacation.
I'm I'm I'm
Yeah.
praying that sooner than later, but no, I feel you, bro. There's sometimes, I think, like, sometimes the challenge in our cultures too, or maybe I don't know about the Filipino culture, but at least in the Mexican culture, leaving home, leaving behind what you're used to, what you're comfortable, it's seen as like risky, maybe not the best decision, um, you know, which I experienced that when I was enlisting into the Navy. My parents not wanting me to really leave. They respected my decision, but it wasn't like they were happy about me leaving. And it's kind of tough. I don't know about you. Are Filipinos like that, or are
No,
you guys more like, go and see the world?
no, 100%. I definitely got a lot of pushback from my parents, my mom specifically. I mean, me being an only child, and then I'd say, uh, my mom definitely, my mother definitely, so you call it, what's a good word for that? She's very protective of me. And with knowing that, I didn't make this decision without proper, I'd say, elevation to that. I mean, I lived in Del Mar, away from my parents. I lived with roommates for 2 years, just 30 minutes away from my parents for 2 years, and I consider that as stepping stones to build up to, what I want to do in my life. And I definitely one thing I wanted for sure that I knew a couple years back is, I wanted to step outside my comfort zone at one point, but I didn't want to do it immediately. So this was my step. My process was, baby steps, but moving out with some roommates from college or even some close friends to a place that's less than an hour from my parents and be able to still visit them. I did that for 2 years, and at that point, I knew I was a good spot to be able to challenge it a little more to build up to that. And that's where I'm in right now. Is I moved back to the Philippines where I was born. So I have family here in the Philippines, so it's not like I'm completely by myself. But I have a lot of cousins. I have a lot of aunts and uncles that are also here. So I still have family here, and this is why I considered another stepping stone to build up, where at least I have some people that I'm close with here, compared to like if I just go to a random country somewhere else like Thailand, I don't know anyone there. So this is where another building stone for me to reach that point of self I'd say like personal self goals, and that's one of my biggest ones. So this is again just another step in that journey, and it'll build up to something. I don't know what that completely looks like. I mean, only God knows. But I'm here with the journey with an open mind, and that's really where having an open mind is definitely one big thing that with my faith allows me that has enabled me to really be able to have the open mind.
I don't know if you heard of the saying that's it says well, don't quote me on it, but it's something like show God your plans and he will laugh or something like that.
Oh yeah, I've heard that before because you basically think
Something
you
like
have
that.
it all paved, but you never know what's gonna happen.
Exactly, bro.
I agree.
And I could definitely relate to that because when I was younger and more I guess had more dreams and aspirations.
Mhm.
I had this whole idea that I was going to be like a professional athlete and everything, and I didn't have the discipline to do any of that. I was too busy just being distracted, trying to have fun all the time, was not putting in the work that I needed to do in order to, maybe play first college ball, which didn't even make that. And then so I kind of found myself eventually, like stuck, lost, which is why I ended up, enlisting as my escape from life for a little bit because I didn't have any job offers or anything after college. And I will say, this is why I believe that God lets things happen to you for a reason. Being away from home for 4 months opened my eyes big time, because I was kind of, in a sense, I was afraid to be gone. I was afraid to leave my house, and from the time that I enlisted to the time that I came back, I left once to study abroad in London. Awesome experience. And then I also left to what do you call it? Well, I left to boot camp. I was out there for 2 months in Chicago, and then I went to Mississippi for another 2 months for A school. And like Mississippi, I had a really good time. I mean, there's nothing to do in the middle of Mississippi, um, like literally nothing to do. But I made really good friends there, and we had a good time. We were grilling, playing baseball. Um, like, dude, we did a lot of things. It was a fun time, and that's when I was like, you know what, I could be here for another month. Like I'm not in a rush to get home. And also, there was a part of me during that time that there was a lot of delays going on with like my class, and like it just felt like my time away from home was just getting longer and longer and longer. So I kind of had also given up on the idea of going back home. For a while, I was like, damn, you know what? Like, I don't even know if I'm gonna go back home at this point. And all of that time that I was gone, though, it really helped open my eyes to realize that, I need to get out of my house. I need to, you know, not just travel the world, but I need to like put myself in other situations where I'm not depending on my parents. And that's what's going to help me grow as a person. So from that point of view, definitely it was necessary for me not to have a job, for me to enlist and then go to boot camp because who knows, I probably would have never had that realization if I didn't go. And now going on to like how my faith has kind of influenced one of my career decisions lately. I mean, there's been a number of situations where I really needed God's help to discern what I want to do. I don't know if I told you about this one, but I was trying to get some active duty orders over in Italy. Did I ever
Mhm.
tell you about that?
Yeah, you did.
And I mean, I've been wanting for a long time to go active duty for a little bit. Just kind of go explore the world. We went to Europe once together, and then I went also with my girl. I went with her to Europe, and so I was like, you know what, I really want to go back to Europe, and I applied for the orders. And by this point, though, I had already found out that I was going to commission as an officer. So the the issue always with the government and everything is like money, right? Um,
Watching.
and I was like, all right, God, I was like, if you really, if this is what you want from me right now, if this is the right move for me right now, like I know it's going to be probably impossible for me to go to Italy still because I'm going to commission. They're not going to have the money or whatnot. But if you really want this to happen, make it happen. I trust in you, and if you don't, it's totally fine. And part of me wanted to go to Italy because the training business was doing okay, but I wasn't doing like I wanted to. I wasn't making the money that I wanted to. I was barely breaking even, and I mean, sure enough, I didn't get accepted for the orders. They interviewed me and they wanted me to go, but when I told them that I was in commission, they were like, yeah, we only budgeted money for a second class, not for an officer. So like, unless you want to push back your commissioning a whole year, because I was gonna be gone until September of this year, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you want to do that, like we can't really do it for you, or we can't really work with you. And I was like, yeah, no, like that's not gonna work. Like I have to commission within this fiscal year, or
Mhm.
I drop it basically.
Yeah. And it's a
And
big opportunity. Mission
it
being
was
an
a huge
officer. Exactly.
So I was like, you know what? Okay, like God doesn't want me to go right now. That's totally fine. I'm gonna try again. Once I finish my supply school, and I think it's like April or March of next year. Is it? No, no. I think it's. All I know is that by the end of 2026, I'll be done.
Okay.
I'll be done,
Yeah.
and I'll be able to apply to orders. So then, when that comes up, I'm probably I'm gonna apply again, and fingers crossed, God willing, whatever He has planned for me,
Yeah.
either I'll be there or I'll still be here.
Exactly.
Now, going a little bit deeper. I want to talk about maybe any signs or if you use silence to listen to what God has for you, or like how do you personally discern what God has for you?
That's a good point, and I really have to say it's a mixture of the people that I'm around and the signs. I mean, signs show up in all different forms. But I really have to say, for me, it's really the people that I'm surrounded, play a big role, and I try to strive myself to surround myself around people that share the same values as me, that will push me, that will make me the best version of myself. Because back in university, I mean, I'm pretty sure you remember this, but like there was a speech and someone mentioned that your net worth is based really off your network, and having the people around you surround you that match your beliefs, your goals, your priorities, and I'd say that care about you, that really empowers you, and that really shows your value. And I really have to say that I would say that's a big factor. And my faith is that the people around me, the support, love that they give, and also their feedback, definitely is what I would consider like the science that God gives me. Then obviously I have conversations, and when those conversations, I mean, what I get back is everyone and physical around me that I surround myself with, the way what they speak onto me is really what how I take as God's science and God trying to communicate to me.
I feel that, bro. I think sometimes, and this includes me. I wish sometimes we would just wish that the sky would open and you'd hear a voice telling you exactly what to do.
Yeah.
And fortunately or unfortunately, that's not how the way things are.
Mhm.
Like you said, you know, people will be placed in your life. Things will happen in your life that kind of guide you towards what God wants. And I definitely think it's not always crystal clear, even though we have all these things happen, right? I think for me, when it comes to figuring out what God wants for me, first thing, dude, I pray. I pray a lot. Pray at night. I always like ending my night in prayer, and especially because like when something's on my mind, like it's hard for me to sleep at night. It's hard for
Not
me to
bad.
sleep, and so I just start praying about it. And like just this year, ever since I started working for the government last year, I was working that job and doing the gym, and it was working out because I was working from home, and that way I could just go directly from here to the gym. If I had some clients in the morning, I can go and come back. There wasn't really like a big issue because I was getting my work done. I wasn't really like I was never late on anything at work. I was always getting stuff done. Like my contracts awarded were always on time, and the one or two that were not was like totally not my fault.
Yeah.
More like people just throwing stuff on us last minute. And you know, everything at the moment was working out. It was good. I had my salary and I had the side thing going on. But deep down, I knew that I didn't want to be working for the government for the rest of my life. That yes, I was gonna make more money in the coming years with the automatic promotions that were coming up, but it just kind of like it felt like kind of like back when I was working at Ralph's when the pandemic first started. Like my plan was just to be there for a couple months, and I ended up being there for like a year and a half. I felt kind of like stuck, like in a stalemate, and that's how I kind of felt recently. Just working for the government still, and I knew that personally, like I wanted to focus fully on my business, get more clients at the gym. I wanted to have enough clients at the gym where I could replace the income from the government job.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the time to do it. And
It's a
like
large
sometimes
commitment.
work, yeah, it was a lot of commitment, bro. Like between doing business and work, you know, there was like one week where I'd be on top of my stuff posting, and then like maybe the next 2 weeks, like
Yeah.
I didn't have time because of work. I needed to get stuff done for work. And I just kind of like, was like God, how am I gonna get out of this hole? Like I don't want to be stuck here for another 3-4 years. You know, when what I really want to do is go on onto the entrepreneur side of things and build up my business, or maybe run some different type of business. And I was just kind of asking him for a sign, or something to happen for me to have the opportunity to just focus on the business. And I guess all the federal workers are going to hate me, and they're probably going to blame me for not having a job now. But
Yeah.
sure enough, when our president came in and he basically had all federal workers go back into the office and gave us the what is it, the early resignation program. I was in the middle of freaking officer development school. Didn't have really like the time to like think about it. It just kind of happened, and I needed to make a decision. And but I was like, you know what, dude, like this is what I've been asking for from the Lord for the longest time. For the opportunity to focus on my business. And I was like, screw it. Like if I'm gonna get paid till the end of September, I'm gonna put all my faith and all my trust in God that Trump is not gonna swindle us, that he's gonna pay us, and I'm just gonna take the resignation and I'm gonna focus on my business. And sure enough, I'm still getting paid. I got paid last week. Um, so I still have until the end of September of getting paid. And I mean, business is growing now. I'm definitely more than breaking even right now at the gym. And I've been growing my business little by little. I got in contact with a small business advisor that's totally free to me. And this is a great resource for everyone watching. Like, it's called Small Business Development Center. They're a national like nonprofit organization, and they provide services for people who, you know, are trying to open a business or they're running a business. They give you a bunch of free resources, and you get a free access to an advisor. So that's great. And so right now everything's going better. I'm happier with what I'm doing, though I still stress out 100%. I'm still stressing out because I know I have a deadline as to when I stop getting paid, and I want to make sure I'm making the money that I was making before. Do you feel like there was any times that you might have made like a bad decision because you kind of like you didn't really you didn't use what would I say, you didn't include God in your decision making. You just kind of made like an irrational decision or emotional decision.
I mean, I'd say those exist. But I will have to say that that is also part of God's plan. Like those are lessons we learn. And
He
I
lets
think
us fumble it for a reason, right?
exactly, because that's his way of teaching us a lesson, especially when, we don't, I mean, regardless, I don't have any regrets in life, but I have a lot of lessons learned in life.
I
And
agree.
I will always still be learning. And that's something that shows that I'm human, but also shows that God is still watching us. Because I know you can be perfect, you can have it all, you can have it all in life. And that's where those instances where there's some things where I'm like, it didn't go my way. Well, that's because it probably wasn't the best way, or that wasn't God's plan, because there's more that God has for me to offer. So that's how I view it. That helps me really not be so stuck on some decisions I made in my past, nor, not let something that I did before that I really didn't like, or something that could happen, like not bring me down with it.
Yeah, I agree, bro. I think, you know, maybe a lot of people, it's just because something didn't go how they planned it, they think that God's punishing them. But honestly, the truth is like, one door might close, but another one opens. And you just got to keep on going. You got to keep on working hard for whatever you want. You know, God he will have something better for you, and he will reward you. But I also believe you got to keep on putting in the work.
100%.
And
I mean, one thing that actually related to that is like talking about back in college, getting internships or summer jobs or just opportunities for work. I struggled getting internships in my new year of college. I mean, I applied to like six or seven, and they were all flopped. I mean, I was like really worried that, I wouldn't be able to get any job opportunities, or and any leads. And it wasn't until, when I least expected it, I got this current opportunity to intern at my current company. And turns out 5 years later, I work for the same company. I'm in a really good spot. I'm able to be where I'm at. And I never imagined I would be here when I was first initially looking for internships and job opportunities. And if I were to perhaps grab one of the first ones, or if I got one of the first ones, I probably wouldn't be as happy, because like now looking at the job roles, it really didn't fit where I was passionate about. And where I'm passionate about right now, I'm like, wow, who would have known I would be where I am right now 5 years ago? And I would have been totally different if, for instance, I got one of the other ones. It might be good or it
yeah,
might be bad, but for, I really enjoy where I'm at right now and have no regrets. And I have no uh like sad thoughts that, I got declined to like five or six that back in the day.
You know, bro, I can relate with that like a lot because I asked myself the same question. I'm like, damn, like everything that I went through from going to boot camp to coming back, having no job for like a couple months, to having like $25 in my bank account and having coming back having no plan. I ran into a friend at LA Fitness who was the one that got me the job, and then that resulted in me moving to a different location, right? And then thanks to being at that location, right, I made a friend who then introduced me to my girlfriend, who then because of that I met her boss.
Hmm.
And when I decided to leave that gym, that I wasn't too sure what I was going to do besides work for the government, he introduced me to the gym owner where I'm at right now.
Yeah, look at that.
And just connecting all those little dots, I'm like, damn, where would I be right now if I would have had like a job offer after college? Um, would I have pursued fitness? Would I maybe just be stuck working in an office all day or something? I don't know. That's to me, that's like it's the part that makes life worth it. Makes all of the downs worth enduring. Because at least right now, like I have no regrets of any of my decisions that I've made so far, because either they taught me a lesson or they've contributed to my success right now.
Exactly.
And just to kind of move on to our last point, any advice that from what you've learned so far and what you've experienced that you can give to someone that they're either currently facing or they're going to be facing some type of life-changing decision, on how they can use their faith to help them make those decisions, and just kind of feel more sure about what they're going to do.
No, 100%. And I think this is even opening up to those people that might not really be in the same denomination as our faith, or really, or not have faith at all in some sort of established religion. But one biggest thing that I think that everyone really should have is some sort of backbone, whether that's the way they were raised, family, or principles that they may have compiled from various other religions, or principles that they have made them all own. But having some sort of backbone is definitely something I think is very valuable. And for us, we have the established backbone of our Roman Catholic faith, Catholic Christianity, and whichever of those denominations, everyone has their own saying. But having some sort of backbone really helps you in life. So, you don't feel lost most of the time. You may still feel lost at times, but having some sort of background allows you to still be straight, and like, your spine, be able to have some skeleton, but then also have something to lean back onto. Um, and then another big instance I would have to say is keep an open minded. We never know. Yeah. Like for me, I'm a big planner when it comes to things and for life. But I am open minded where I know sometimes my plan doesn't turn out as I plan. And that's something that you have to be open to and need to accept. You can plan as hard as you can, but in that, you know, anything can happen. So that's something that I've also learned over the years, and that's, I think, very valuable, especially in the golden age in our 20s. Is you will take risks, and you might not win them all. You might get losses. But having open minded, I think, is definitely very valuable in our mindset, and that everyone should have in their mindset, especially in this age where you have a lot of aspirations, goals. You want to achieve them all. Obviously, who doesn't want to achieve all of them? But you can't let one failure bring you down. You can have two failures bring you down. You have to look at those as life lessons learned, and then how can you build up from there?
I agree with that, bro. Especially that last part right there that you said. I truly believe God puts those failures in our life to help us be stronger, be wiser, right? To make better decisions, and ultimately to guide us to where He wants us to go. And at least for the advice that I can give anyone that's listening is first and foremost, like, open up your heart to God. If you haven't before really been close to your religion or anything, take that time, to learn a little bit more, go to your service on the weekend, to read the Bible or read any sacred scripture that you have, and really just start learning more about your faith. Because when you start learning about it, it actually will give you some of the answers to some of the questions that you have, right? Like the Bible being such a big book with so many teachings and so many like stories and lessons. Like I I know that there's been many times where I've been to church on Sunday and like just one of the readings really resonates with something that's going on in my life currently.
Yeah.
So, first just have that openness and willingness to actually practice your faith. And second, especially I can relate this to a little bit to the gym, where it takes time to get results. It takes time, it takes consistency, it takes more than just motivation, it takes your commitment, and also being like fully aware that you're going to jump into this journey of trying to lose weight, but it's going to take your time. But if you're consistent with it and if you're doing the right steps, right, you're doing everything that you need to do, you'll get to your goal. And I feel like trusting God and bringing God into your life is kind of the same thing, where if you don't really commit to having God in your life, well, guess what, one day you'll make a decision that's faith-based, and then the next day you won't. You're going to be not really well grounded in your faith, and you're just going to feel lost. You're going to feel like there's no progress. You're going to feel like God is not there for you. But I think, knowing that being active in your faith and practicing your faith, that, or how do I want to say this, putting your faith in conjunction with your life decisions it doesn't mean that your life is automatically going to be perfect and that everything's going to go right and that you're not going to make any mistakes and everything that you have planned in life is going to go exactly to your plan. It's having that faith that God is leading you is basically, it's going to help you endure the rough times and excel through all the good times that are going to come. Right? So same thing, it's going to help you push through the times that you're not motivated, through the times that you feel lost. And then, it will make you feel a lot more happy and thankful for all the good times and all the rewards that you will receive.
And like with faith, it doesn't make you automatically happy. I mean, the way I view it is, if you're not sad, you don't know what happiness is. So that's honestly something where your faith allows you, having some sort of faith, having some sort of background, helps you be grounded. That's one big, and that's a good word, being grounded.
Grounded.
So that's definitely something we're open to, and everyone has their own religious faith principles that they follow, and I really have to say it's still applicable. So yeah,
100%, man. And a quick closing thought. The apostles, they gave their life to Jesus. Their life was not easy at all, right? When he left, they were persecuted, they were killed, they were made martyrs. Life was not easy for them, but they never lost faith in God, right? They kept on doing the work that he asked of them, spreading his word. And same thing for us. All of us that are in this golden age of our life, if we do what God asks of us, if we put him in our life, again, it's not going to be perfect, it's not going to be easy, but we're going to go in the right direction. Any last takeaways for you, bro, before we close out this
Uh,
episode?
no, I just want to say thanks for having me again. This is definitely a very powerful topic. I think it's very valuable, especially even if you don't have you don't follow faith or if you're not really close to faith, but just in general, just speaking about making decisions in our life. This is very valuable to have conversations, and I wish the best for everyone. But always keep an open minded and perspective in a lot of things. And if one thing doesn't go your way, that just means that either you have to make your own door, or there's gonna be another door down the line for
I agree. And bro, I just want to say thank you for being on this episode with me. You know how much this means to me, and again, like I said earlier, I you really do deserve everything that you have. You worked very hard, and I know that God's rewarding you for the good person that you are, and just for all the good impact that you left in our lives. So I'm happy for you, bro. I'm praying for you always. Maybe I'm praying for you to come back home sooner than later, but
you.
also, whatever you got out there, however long you gotta be out there, brother. I'm
I
supporting you,
appreciate it. Thank you.
and hopefully one day I get to go visit you too if you're out there longer than
Yeah.
planned.
Or vacation. You can just come here for vacation too. Yeah.
Yeah,
For sure. I love you, brother. No, I really appreciate it.
thanks, bro, and thanks again for being on this episode. For everyone that was watching and listening, I appreciate you guys watching, sticking through the end. I wish you guys the best. I really wish that any plans that you have for life, if that's what God wants for you, I hope they come to fruition. And if that's not what He wants, I just pray that you guys trust that what He wants for you guys. And yeah, so thank you for being here for the Watching the Golden Age podcast on our 6th episode. We're making this happen. And yeah, God bless. Take care. Make sure you guys subscribe, follow, like this video, share it with your friends, share it with someone that's feeling lost or doesn't know what they're doing with their life. Just share this, and I promise you that it's going to help out someone out there. Once again, thank you and take care. See you guys on the next episode. Bye bye.
Bye bye.